Hey, what's up, world, and welcome to episode 148 of the Take One Podcast. I am your host, August C. Jones, and today we got quite a few stuff to get into. First, we're going to get into the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. Is it finally coming out, or is it not? I don't know. We're going to get into that, as well as we got a release date for the New Mutants. I've been talking about that for like the past couple weeks. We're going to get into everything that's new to rent on the stream. And then I'm going to be talking about movies that came out 20 years ago this week. And then I'm going to get into some reviews for the movie trailer for Unhinged. And then I'm going to review the movie John Henry, which recently dropped on Netflix, as well as a late-ass review for The Tiger King. And so with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into things, which, like I said, will be the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Will it finally come out? And we got an update. So for the longest, ever since Justice League dropped, and it was, I guess you could say, kind of like below expectations. It was not what everybody expected to be. Some people on the spectrum, either they liked it, they didn't like it, or they were kind of in between about it. But everything that came out about Justice League just wasn't spectacular. And behind the scenes, all the chaos that went on with it, with WB not having faith within Zack Snyder, and him having like his personal issues with his daughter passing away, so he left the directing duties up to Joss Whedon, which basically he came in and did some reshoots and rewriting of the script, and which gave us the birth of this Frankenstein of a movie that is called Justice League. And ever since then, we've been hearing that there is a different version of the movie that is out, or that's just locked away with Zack Snyder's handprints all over it, and certain things that came out throughout the years of what it entailed, from different things that Steppenwolf did up in the movie, and how his inevitable ending came about, how Darkseid appeared in the movie, how the Green Lanterns was in the movie, and just all this crazy stuff, and how they were going to go a totally different direction, but because of the way things went, it ended up giving us what we got. And so recently, as of literally this year, after years of campaigning a hashtag release the Snyder Cut for Justice League, and it's not like an ongoing thing, it's just constantly, every now and then it gets new updates. And so it came out that Zack Snyder had screened a private screening for the execs at DC for the Justice League Snyder Cut and everything that goes along with it. Now, a lot of speculation goes along with it. Is are they trying to plan a release of the Snyder Cut? Will it have a theatrical release? Or a lot of people are speculating that it will drop on HBO Max. And as we know right now, the movie isn't like completely done. A lot of VFX and all that stuff needs to be done to the movie. So there's going to be millions of dollars that need to be poured into this movie in order to bring it into fruition and bring it out for our viewing pleasure. And that is kind of like hard to do right now with the quarantine and everything else, because of just photography that needs to be done for the movie still and everything else. And so when that came out, got people buzzing. And this happened back in February 6th, to be exact. And I don't know, like, just depending on how you look at it, if you were pro Snyder Cut and all that stuff and you really wanted to see it, then, this would be really exciting. And all this information was confirmed by Heroic Hollywood, but it has no details really that came about it. So, like I said, all this is speculation. We don't know if they are planning on doing a release of the Snyder Cut on HBO Max or whatever. But that was just something that they had planned. And then not even that long after that, like weeks after that, Snyder gave a film slate prize to this winner of this Justice League poster contest or whatnot. And what it basically says is that it promised the person who wins the prize to be on set for any additional photography for the Snyder cut of Justice League. And that got people more up in the uproar. So it's like, will it come out? It looks like it's going to possibly come out. There were maybe plans coming out that they were going to, put some money into it and get this released, since a lot of people are like clamoring for it. And I am very curious to see it. The only thing that I have about this whole situation is that people don't know really what they want. Curiosity is a bitch. We all, including myself, are curious about what the Snyder Cut looked like. Is it better than the original? It has to be better than the what we got in theaters and all that stuff. But the question hasn't arisen, like, what if it's not better than what we got? What if it's like at the same level? And even if it is better, what if it's just a tiny bit better? What if it's not anything that blows our socks off? Now, we've heard descriptions from like Kevin Smith about everything that entails, and it sounds all badass. It was going to be a multi-film, arc, that they wasn't just going to have this. Like, literally, if you go back at the slate at one time that DC put out and Warner Brothers put out, that they were going to have Justice League, I believe it was going to be a year apart. So it was going to be Justice League Part 1 and then Justice League Part 2. So they had something in place that along the way, because of just how the movie started to turn out, they started to course correct and try and figure out what they're going to do. They needed to change some stuff. And then with Zack Snyder exiting it, it gave them the perfect opportunity to kind of rework things. And it's just, that's the only thing that I'm kind of fearing, is that even though we've heard all this stuff about what the movie includes, and it kind of gets you hyped because you don't know. You've seen Justice League, you underwhelmed, this and that, so you like, it can't be worse than what we got. Honestly, it can. Honestly, it can. But I mean, what if it's not good? Regardless, we're supposed to, up in the Snyder Cut, Green Lantern's in there, Martian Manhunter is said to be up in there. Steppenwolf was supposedly died at the end of it, head cut off in a boom tube, with Darkseid looking at the Justice League. And it said also that that Darkseid was supposed to be kind of like a little bit more in that movie as well, with a younger version of Darkseid going against Ares, the god of war. And it's just, I don't know, it seems like it has a lot going into it. Like, I don't know, it just seems like there is like kind of too much going into that one movie, especially so soon. So that's what kind of got me thinking, what if it's not as good? But in any case, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. A lot of people that have seen the movie said that they, for what it is right now, without the visual effects and all that stuff, they actually did like it. So I don't know. Like, I'm curious. I'm game if they put the money to it, because it's gonna be a lot of money. If they're willing to drop the bread after all this quarantine and actually get the stuff done that they need to get done for the release of it, more than likely going to be on streaming. For one, don't expect it to affect the BVS universe. Don't expect it. This is mainly just going to be a different version of the BVS universe Justice League that's put out just for the hell of it, because we want it. It's not going to be anything that's going to be a game changer, and they're not going to go from there. So a lot of the stuff that happens in the movie, it more than likely isn't going to happen in a later film. So, and if it does, I'll be surprised. But other than that, I am game. I am game for whatever they do. And more than likely, if they end up doing something, it's going to have to happen once everything really starts opening back up. But, well, we'll see. We'll see. So, the next topic is not going to be too much. I don't have too much to say on it because there's only a little information that came out about it. But New Mutants got a release date. So we talked about it for like the past couple weeks. A little bit of news came up about it. Just the bad luck of just this cursed film that just will never come out, it seemed. And how it briefly went on VOD and was promptly taken off not too long after that. So speculation came on about whether or not it was going to go straight to streaming like VOD, or was they still going to have a theater release? And now we have the answer. So the release date is August 28th for the New Mutants to hit theaters. And like I've said before in the last podcast, I would have loved for them to put it in October. Only because, like, I don't know how long this is going to last. Who knows? This may go all the way into September. But, I feel like with that type of movie, it feels like it would work better going toward the Halloween season. But nevertheless, we got a release date, August 28th, not too long after my birthday, so I'm definitely going to be checking it out. I've been wanting to see this movie ever since I've seen the first trailer of it. I love horror films, love superhero films. This blends both of them together, which makes me happy. Hopefully this film is just good. It don't have to be great. Even though if it is, then I'll be happy. But, as long as it's good and satisfying to me, I will be okay with it. But, yeah, so hopefully the theaters start opening back up. And this movie can finally hit its release date. And no more, it's not going to hit theaters. What is it going to do? Is this movie ever going to be released? It's cursed. So yeah, like I'm really hoping to see this movie. Hopefully nothing changes with the world or Disney's mind or what they want to do with it. Hopefully they just let it play out the way it does. But like I said, that was really all that goes with that. So let's jump over to the next subject, which is everything to rent, own, or stream. And not too much on the digital side. But as far as Netflix, The Lovebirds will premiere this week, so look out for that. But as far as digital releases, we have Sonic the Hedgehog, Onward, The Way Back, Brahms, The Boy 2, Emma, and Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. And I have a movie review on all of those movies except for Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. I'm planning on watching that either between this week and next week and putting out a review for that because I really do want to check that out. And so that's everything to new, rent, own, and stream. And also, real quick, 3 movies that are turning 20 years old this week, which is Dinosaur, Road Trip, and Small Time Crooks. And so now I am going to be reviewing the trailer for Unhinged. So this is a movie that I really didn't hear about it too much before. But this trailer looks awesome. It's about Russell Crowe, who plays a guy who is kind of having a bad day. And he is basically kind of like irritated by this woman who is frustrated with him, I guess, not moving fast enough in traffic. And so he basically puts it upon himself to have this road rage and really attack her life. And try to kill her and just basically destroy everything around her. Which is actually a good premise, and I love that. This trailer looks really, really, really good. And the one thing I'm thinking about while I'm watching it is like where's the police? I don't know how the story goes. I don't know how it's structured throughout the whole film. All the acts and, will the police be a thing to do, during like this first and second act or whatever after everything happened. But that's what kind of thing that just got me thinking in my head is like, if a dude is over here on this shit, trying to like track you down and trying to like just run you off the road and do all this stuff, call the police. Go to the police station, stay there. Like, I ain't moving because this person trying to kill me, blah, blah, blah. But in any case, this movie looks awesome. It looks really awesome. It's one of those movies that's low budget, that doesn't have the hype of like, a major big budgeted film. But I can see this catching the eye of a lot of people that may not normally go to the show like that, may end up watching this trailer and like, yo, I gotta go see that. This is one of those movies where I go to the movies 5 times a year. And I mean, people don't have like an exact amount of times they go to the movies, but let's just say like 5 times a year, this is going to be one of the 5. That's basically seemed like this what this movie is. It comes out July 1st after being moved from its September 4th spot because of A Quiet Place 2, which, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're more than likely they're going to capture the same type of like audience members. So, and because A Quiet Place literally is the more bigger IP, I don't know if it's going to do that much. So it was, basically kind of like a no-brainer. Let's move it. And to move it to July 1st was kind of, like bold, I guess you could say. Because of the simple fact that, theaters want to reopen by next month, before July, and it wants to be the first actual film to start playing in theaters, the actual new film to start playing in theaters when theaters first open. And it wants to be the one that makes history, that breaks that mold. And just so people can see, are people rushing out to go to the theaters? Because more than likely people are still going to be hesitant. There's still going to be the 6 feet rule and distances and, cleaning down everything, because this stuff is still going to be around. So you're not going to have people rushing out to the theater. But the thing is, will people go see this? That will be the test. And it's ballsy that they were to do this, but with any movie, I guess this will be a movie, because this not a high budgeted movie, a relatively low budgeted movie. So it's not going to get like a huge dent, but it will get a dent in it as compared if it was maybe shown when people are more comfortable with going to the show. Also dropping that month is Tenet, and it's still in the air whether Tenet is going to keep its release date. And right now, I guess you could say it's all depending on what Unhinged is going to do. Are people going to go see that movie? And if it hits box office at 30 million, in which they're hoping that it may end up hitting, then more than likely they're going to look at it as a success. And then, Tenet is more than likely going to keep its release date, if not moved within this week or next week. Some execs coming out and saying that they're gonna bump it to like the next month or a little bit later. But as of right now, that's what we have to expect in the month of July. Hopefully I can see this movie in theaters July 1st, because this movie looks awesome. The trailer really got me, and I really want to get back to normal and go to the theaters. Hey, that's just me. Maybe that's just me. And so, keeping on the line of sight of reviews, John Henry, the newest film to drop on Netflix. John Henry. I don't know what I was really expecting from this film. I really didn't have too many expectations. I didn't think that this movie was going to blow my mind, but I was willing to give it a chance. With Terry Crews at the helm, as the main character, as John Henry, I don't know. I mean, Terry Crews is a good actor, but carrying a film, being the main character, I'm not quite sure that this was the right film for him to be in, and it totally shows. Ludacris is in this movie. Yeah, so this movie is a slow burn, and it really is kind of boring. Not too much of anything happens. It's basically just really about this woman who was kidnapped and forced to do sexual things or whatever, just like human trafficking, on a small scale. And her brother breaks her out, in which she's on the run, and she ends up running into John Henry, who helps her, and in turn helps her brother as well to escape from Chris Ludacris Bridges. And oh man, this movie, I can say that it is character driven. You don't expect, it's John Henry, so you would expect, strength, something like that. Don't put it in your mind that this is kind of like a vigilante type of movie where he's just going out and kicking ass, Daredevil style, blah, blah. No, this is not one of those type of movies. It is more character driven, and I really did like how they kind of developed the characters. They spent a lot of time on it to where you care for them. So when things happen, you're like, okay, yeah. And I liked how that was handled. The CG blood spatter is very obvious in this movie. There are scenes where people are getting shot, and just the way it splatters, you're like, yeah, that's fake. You literally could tell right off the bat. Pretty decent acting. And then it's not so much pretty decent acting. You know, it's kind of on and off in certain parts. Certain people, it's better. It's not consistent with the acting. Terry Crews did fine until he didn't, which once it got to the end, it just went off the rails. Ludacris as the villain was not good and very lackluster, and was in the movie very little. So don't expect to see him just really doing something major. And he no. How Ludacris and one of the things that just threw me off with it, and you can tell there's low budget because of just certain things that just stands out. How Ludacris is dressed in this movie as opposed to where he lives doesn't quite match up. You know, Ludacris is dressed up extremely nice and seems to be a big time drug dealer and all this stuff, just a big time drug lord that you would think would stay in like a nice little mansion. But he stays in a regular house that looks like it's kind of like in between the suburban and the hood type neighborhood. And it just doesn't match up. And he just conducts his business in this neighborhood house. It really just throws me off. Like, I just could not get over it. Certain scenes were put in the movie, like these tape scenes that honestly could have been taken out, and it probably would have made the movie a little bit better. And there's this one scene where these two guys are in this car and they're having a conversation, which seemed like it lasts forever. And it literally could have been taken out. There was no point of having this. It was put in for a comedic effect, and it didn't have that. It was just stupid. It was just horrible. Certain editing choices had me scratching my head as to the thought behind it. The final act was just bad. Just bad, with some of the worst acting. Like I said, when Terry Crews, he was fine until he wasn't. And this was like one of those parts. And it takes place in that neighborhood that I mentioned, in front of the whole neighborhood. So John Henry is good with conducting violence in front of all these innocent people, in front of all these families just looking around, and it just doesn't make sense for the character. His character would more than likely want to conduct it somewhere where people won't see it. And it just doesn't bother him. Like, all this stuff is just happening, and I literally am exaggerating that because not too much is happening, but this stuff is taking place in front of everybody, and it just doesn't make sense. The musical score reminded me of like a Western kind of Tarantino, but it didn't lend itself to adding to the film like I guess they hoped that it would. And everything was okay until it got to around the third act, and that's when the movie completely tanked and fell apart. And I just want to say that this film is just a total miss. If you haven't watched it and you're in quarantine looking for stuff to watch, don't watch this. Don't waste your time with it. It's not worth it. But you want to know something that is worth it? Tiger King. When I first started watching this show or whatnot, I literally could not get past the first episode. I tried to watch it twice, and I'm just like, this is just kind of boring. Like, what the hell? But when I forced myself to get past that, but once it got past that, it was smooth sailing. This show is crazy. It's about Joe Exotic and his crazy, insane life, his feud between him and this woman named Carol Baskin, his animal zoo, relationships, and everything. And I mean everything, good and bad. It goes through the ins and outs of the whole situation, with ups and downs, lies and deceit, murder and lots of death, love and loss, success and failure, shadiness, and just the shadiness of their business and what a lot of them be trying to profit off of. And man, I say it's just crazy. There's no really other way to really explain it. It talks with a lot of the employees that was under him, and there are a colorful ass cast of characters, and it also gets into their personal lives, as well as their relationship with Joe and how it was, as well as the show focuses on Joe's friends, people that he associated with, as well as all of their trials and tribulation that came with it. One of the things that I really did like about this show is how it focuses, how the focus shifts from one person to the next, and not only showing the good side of someone, but also showing the bad side of really all the main people like Joe and Carol, all the way to Doc and Jeff. It didn't really shine someone as being completely good or completely bad, but it showed both spectrums of each person, and to my eyes, there wasn't any favoritism. Like how Joe brings people in to work at the zoo, but at the same time taking advantage of their situation and not really treating them the way that they needed to be treated. And it showed Joe and how he had a real love for these animals, but what nobody saw was the fact that he was really in it for the money and not for the animals. And Joe Exotic was kind of the character that he would play when he was in front of people in public and stuff, but Joe Passage, his real name, was the real person that sometimes intertwined, but he tried to make a difference between both. And it even had one episode revolving around mainly Carol Baskin and the mystery of her missing husband, and how a lot of people speculate that she was the one who killed him and got rid of the body, which was really interesting. But the main focus of the series was the rivalry between Joe and Carol and how extreme it got, to the point of murder almost playing a role. And a lot of it was really no holds barred. During the episode where it focused on Carol Baskin's missing husband, I found myself laughing at the fact that Joe had made a song, an actual song and music video about her killing her husband and hiding the evidence with the Tigers. And that is just like, with me being a fan of rap, that is just the craziest diss record I heard. I mean, to take something like that and just spin it the way he did, that was just, I just found it hilarious. I just really did find it hilarious. But simply, this is just how crazy it got between both of them. And that there was just so much that went on within the years of this rivalry that, simply put, a lot of it could have been simply squashed if it were not for certain actions taken by certain people that escalated it to the point of just no return. And just to put it out there, everybody is dirty. No one involved in the situation really had their hands clean on anything, whether they did something illegal or tried to, or they saw and never reported it. And the whole rivalry between Carol and Joe was simply a case of the pot calling the kettle black. And no matter how you look at it, it always comes out as the lesser of two evils, when at the end of the day, they're still blatantly two evils. And it's crazy how long this rivalry went before it actually got to the point where law enforcement had to intervene. And it truly shows how a person can go from living a relatively life of normalcy to just completely losing all control of everything. And even the reunion show hosted by Joel McHale, there was a lot of stuff said about Joe and the going-ons behind the scenes that the show didn't cover. And a lot of the stuff that came out was just as crazy as what was put in the episodes prior. This show, if you have not seen it, it's nuts. It is nuts. Definitely check it out. It is a hit. If you can't get past the first episode, just push through. Everything else was just literally show that it's well worth it, because this will be on your brain for days on end. Just how crazy the situation got with these people and everybody that was involved. And just how it turned out is just crazy. All the stuff that you find out that happened behind the scenes, like I said, that wasn't shown, is just nuts. And it's just crazy that this type of stuff really did happen. But yeah, that's my review on that. And that is the end of this podcast. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. And if you haven't yet, go ahead, subscribe to my channel, as well as hit that thumbs up if you like this video. you like what you hear, and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified for any and everything that appears on my channel. And until next time, I will catch you guys later. Peace out.